Good afternoon. This is Jack Martin with Elite Advisor Group. On behalf of InsureMark, I want to welcome you to our Socially Engineering More Referral Business webinar. This is the March version of our Business Alpha webinar series, and we want to thank all of you for carving out time from your busy schedules today to join us for this business building opportunity. Today, we're going to dive into three specific areas to help you with your business. We're going to demonstrate to you how, using LinkedIn and redefined client events, you'll be able to digitally clone your best clients. We're going to talk to you about how to engineer a sustainable referral business, create one that's ongoing and not just happenstance. And finally, we're going to give you very specific actionable practices for becoming the go-to advisor in your community. So I think we would all agree that this has been a pretty rapidly evolving marketplace the last couple of years. Some people would describe us as being in a vortex, and it's probably not an overestimate that if we don't evolve, that there might not be a place for us in the next few years. And in fact, some people are projecting as many as 100,000 advisors, maybe more, will be leaving this business in the next couple of years. Well, at InsureMark, we long ago evolved beyond just a distributor of market-leading annuities and life insurance products. Our advisor clients have counted on us to help them grow their business for a number of years. It's been a very successful strategic partnership between InsureMark and our advisor clients. And so this year, we couldn't be happier to announce we're evolving one step further and continuing that process with the announcement of our new identity as an Advisor Development Organization, or an ADO. And as the industry's first and only Advisor Development Organization, this identity really represents the next step in our 30-year history of aligning independent financial advisors like yourself with best-of-breed resources and services from a dedicated professional team here in our offices in Houston, our product partners across the United States, technology vendors, practice management leaders, and business development systems. And so it's an important step for us, and I think our founder, Steve Kearns, really encapsulated it perfectly, I think, when he said ADO reflects our DNA mindset and the way we serve our advisor clients. Advisors and distributors are in a vortex of technology, regulatory, and market changes. And he continued by saying our focus is to partner with our advisor clients to manage that change and enhance their lifestyle and the value of their business. We call that driving your business alpha. And we invite you to take a few minutes at the end of today's webinar and give us a call and arrange a time to meet with an advisor development consultant, and so we can demonstrate to you exactly what that translates into in your business. So this spring, we've been talking to a lot of advisors, and our Business Alpha data has shown us that amongst you folks, that prospecting is the biggest immediate challenge for 65% of you that we've surveyed. It's a big deal on your mind. It's a bigger challenge to your growth in 2018 than time or revenue or people or any other of the things that we listened. And as we dug down into that, what we heard from you was that a lot of it has to do with the fact that your prospecting systems just aren't as efficient as they should be. And if we peel back the layers of this just a little bit, and we ask affluent families, how did you discover your financial advisor? So we're asking the consumer, how did you find the advisor you're working with today? You see a lot of the methods that advisors use commonly, seminars, direct mail, radio, TV, score pretty low in terms of the percentage of affluent families that use those methods. But on the other end of the spectrum, if you look at word of mouth influencers, that's what WOMI stands for, word of mouth influence, and you talk to these consumers, what they tell you is that introductions, referrals, word of mouth really drives how they find it. And we think that's really an important point to build on. And so today we're going to talk about how you socially engineer those kinds of connections those kinds of interactions. And so that's why we've got the socially engineered referral business webinar, and it's going to have two parts to it. In the first part, we're going to listen to Crystal Thies as she explains how to turn LinkedIn into a referral machine. And beyond that, she's actually going to demonstrate her best strategies for turning LinkedIn into a referral engine. We're going to come back near the end of this, and then we're going to talk about redefined client events. And I want to assure you that the programs that we built for advisors a couple of years ago that we're going to talk about today are extremely effective programs that are designed to help put you into an environment that creates more word of mouth influence. So it's a little bit different take. It's not the big chicken dinner for 30 of your best clients, and you come away from that and you feel like you've educated them a lot, but you don't get a lot of referral traction. This is a whole different kettle of fish here. And so it's really going to help you out in terms of building that referral business that is consistent and really makes a difference in your growth. So having said all that, I want to turn the program over to Crystal Thies now. She's known as the LinkedIn Ninja. We've worked with her a number of times. Our advisors love her. She does great work. She's very hands-on. This isn't just theory. This is practice. She is the co-author of the Social Media Guide for Financial Advisors, which was published by Bloomberg, and that's a really big deal. So, Crystal, what I'd like to do is turn the microphone over to you. So take it away.
So thank you, Jack, and I'm honored to be talking to everybody out there. As Jack said, that I'm known as LinkedIn Ninja, and I've been known as LinkedIn Ninja since 2010. What a lot of people don't realize necessarily is that I used to be in your shoes. I was a financial planner twice in my life. Crazy enough to take Series 7 twice in my life, plus the 66 and the 63, and the insurance licenses and the whole kit and caboodle twice. So I understand where you're coming from. So I'm one of the few social media experts who truly understands the challenges that those working in financial services, and especially if you're in your securities license, go through in trying to utilize these tools. In fact, it was when I was being recruited to go back into the industry all the way back in 2007, and I went looking to find tools. Well, what's been almost a decade since I've did this, what's available now that I could use to quickly get up to speed? And that was how I found LinkedIn, looking for tools to go back into financial planning. And the features that it had back then were nothing compared to what we have now. But what it did have was the advanced search. And if you are looking to do referrals, and I learned referrals from Bill Cates, and we're going to see his face pop up here a little bit later. That's who I learned how to do referrals. The hard part with referrals is that you ask them.
Is yours small like that? Because
I can hear you, Jack. Are you on the phone? Can you mute yourself?
No, someone else is on the line. Can you mute, please? Thank you.
Okay. So the hard part with referral marketing is you'll tell somebody, okay, this is the type of client that I want. And they've got to rack their brains to try and figure out who they know that fits that criteria. And half the time, they probably don't come up with the best people because they're just trying to rack their brains. And sometimes the people they come up with really are not your ideal prospects, but now you've been given this person to follow up with, and now you have the obligation to follow up. And so when you utilize LinkedIn's advanced search capabilities, and we're going to demonstrate how to really do that, essentially what you're getting is a treasure map to the referrals that you want. And it will tell you exactly who's connecting you so that you know how to get introduced. So you can go to someone and you can say, okay, here are your connections that I'd really like to get introduced to. Would you be open to doing that? So it takes the power and the responsibility of the referral being in the referee's hands and puts it back in yours. And so we're going to be talking about how to do that, but also take it a little bit further. So sales has changed a lot today. I was first a financial planner dialing for dollars. I did the cold calls. We had phone clinics on Wednesday nights and Saturday mornings and any other time we had time. But during that time, it was really difficult for buyers to find a lot of the information they needed for whatever it was that they were trying to buy. You had the yellow pages, you had advertisements and magazines and TV, but you couldn't dig into what it was that you were looking to purchase very easily. Today with the internet, the buyers are in control. They have done the research, they have done the looking, they have already vetted which financial advisors they're going to interview before they even contact you. And so being in control means that you've got to change. And they won't work with pushy salespeople. Financial services is notorious for having used really bad Glengarry, Glen Ross, hard selling tactics, and people just aren't going to deal with it anymore. And so if you're using some of those old school tactics, they're not going to work with you. You're not going to have an option. So those sales tactics will not work. And an interesting stat I found is that 63% of people requesting information from your company will not purchase for at least 3 months, and 20% take more than 12 months. So that first contact is not going to immediately turn into a client. They've said for years, 7 to 10 touches it's going to take to convert someone to a client. And back in the old days when you had the phone and the direct mail for the most part, sending out your newsletter, sending out birthday cards, Christmas cards, it took a lot of time to get 7 to 10 touches to a prospect, but it doesn't anymore. And if it's going to take that long, that's why communication is so much more important. If they have that initial touch and then they never hear from you, chances are they're going to go with somebody else. So you need to find ways to stay in communication, ways to, when you get these little fishy prospects, they end up in a pond, but there's usually a way for them to get out. And so you have to keep them staying in your pond by communicating in some manner, whether it's social media, whether it's email, whether it's on the phone, in person. There's lots of different ways that you can communicate, and you want to find the ways that the people, your little fishies, want you to communicate with them and consistently do that, so that when they come to the point that they're ready to make that decision to work with a financial advisor, they think of you first. And so when I talk about LinkedIn to a lot of people and incorporating a system to really leverage this tool that I saw back in 2007 as a godsend to me starting a brand new practice, the initial reaction I always get is, I don't have the time. I just don't have the time. It takes too much time. LinkedIn takes too much time. And to be honest, it's bullcrap, because it's a knee-jerk reaction. They're overwhelmed with what they're already doing. They're making an assumption that it's going to take a lot of time, and they just don't want to do it. So if you're really thinking time is the issue with why you have not been able to leverage LinkedIn so far, I want you to look at those other prospecting techniques. Now, most of you said that you're getting referrals without a system. Are you actually trying to get the referrals? So you're really lucky if those referrals are coming without you asking, but there are 20% doing cold calling. How many people do you have to communicate with, and how much time and effort does it take to get the perfect prospect? So realistically evaluate how much time and money are your current prospecting tactics taking, and how good are the prospects that you get from that. And then also, when you get those prospects, look at the longevity of your access to them. If you're doing internet ads, Google AdWords or Facebook ads, you're paying every time someone clicks on your ad, whether they fill out your form or give you the information or not, in order for you to hold on to them. There's no way to hold on to them unless they fill out the form. And if they fill out the form, and you usually can only ask for name, sometimes only first name and email address to even get them to fill out the form, do you have enough information and ways to continue to build that relationship? Is it going to be easy if they've just given you their first name and their email address? So you really want to look at your current prospecting tactics to determine how successful they are, how much time they take, how much you spend, before coming out and telling me that LinkedIn takes too much time. And if in your evaluation you find that you are able to find, identify, engage with 20 plus people who meet your perfect prospect criteria per hour, every hour you do it, then good for you. Don't worry about LinkedIn. But if you're not producing these types of results, then I hope that you're listening closely. So, digitally cloning your best clients. Now, one of the biggest difficulties I have when I talk to financial advisors is I'll ask them, who is your perfect prospect? Who's your target market? Who is it that you want to find? And most of the time, actually, they don't know. They'll say, well, I don't know. Anyone who has money to spend. Or you'll get the standard, well, pre-retirees, 55 to 65 with 500,000 of investable assets, da, da, da. That's not defining your target market nearly enough. You really need to, if you want to clone them from LinkedIn, and LinkedIn you can clone them, you really have to dig in and come up with an avatar. Who is that person? What would they look like if we packaged them up as an action figure and stuck them on the wall for someone to buy? So think about really closely. And when you're defining them, you have to define them in terms of LinkedIn. What content would be on their profile to help you identify them? So where do they live? Most people who are involved in financial services are bound by geography based on their licenses. So you can identify where they live. What do they do for a living? What is their career? How senior are they within their company? What industry is their company in? How big of a company do they work for? And what keywords do they use to describe what they do? And so what you want to come up with is a description of who your prospect is based on these criteria, because these are the criteria that you can use LinkedIn's advanced search in order to find them. Now, you can make educational leaps. You want a certain income level, you can make that decision based on how senior they are within their company, how big their company is. Same thing with asset base. You can make educated guesses as to where they would be in terms of their career. Are they business owners? Business owners are probably the easiest to find. Are you going after administrative assistants? Are you going after people in specific companies? And I'm going to demonstrate how to do that. And so if you can define who your target market is in terms of LinkedIn, you can take all the rabble of all the people in LinkedIn and pop out only the ones that you really, really want. And so to demonstrate that, I'm going to go live here and pop out of the PowerPoint and show you some actual searches. So let me come up to my browser. So one of the first things that I always hear from some people too is that, well, I work with retirees. Retirees, they're just not on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn's been around since 2003. And if you asked me earlier, I'd probably agree with you. Yeah, for the most part, they're not. I decided to test that a little bit earlier. Are retired people on LinkedIn? It's been around now for more than a decade. Are retired people on LinkedIn? And so I came up with a search. My first really cool search since I originally came up with the 401k rollover search, which we'll take a look at too. So to get to the advanced search, what you want to do is when you're on your homepage, click in the main search box and select people. And when you select people, you will have these filters at the top. Select all filters. And that's going to open up to make it really easy for you to put everybody there. I'm going to go back to what I had set up. And open up all the filters. So when you're looking to clone your clients, you really want to start and focus on the relationship of the second degree connections. Your second degree is where the money is. Now, if you haven't looked at your first degrees for this retired search or for the in transition 401k rollover search, go ahead and add your first degrees in there too. Third degrees are too far out at this point, and the ability to connect with those people either through a referral because you're missing a link in between there, or the likelihood of them to accept an invitation to connect from someone that far out is really, really minimal. The money is in your second degree. And so what you want to type over here you have some keyword filters you can put in, and in the title, type in the word retired. We scroll down here, you can then pick your locations. So this used to be real difficulty, but say you have a practice where you have some clients up north and you go south and you want to build clients down south, you can actually search for both locations at the same time by going ahead and putting those metro areas. Now, if there are retirees from a certain company, here are past companies, you can go ahead and select that company. I live in the Cincinnati area. Everybody wants to work with P&G employees. So you can say past company, Procter & Gamble. And what's going to happen when you click on the apply button, you're going to get some search results. Now, this is a pretty narrow search. And so I have 36 people who are second degrees, retired, living in Cincinnati, or I think it's West Palm Beach. Now, if you're wondering really how many are truly out there, I think that's a pretty good place to start, because here you can click at your shared connections. You can see everyone who's connecting you in order to ask for that referral, that introduction. But if we go to all of the filters and we remove, so let me go back here. I'm still in the connections of. Go into our filters, we remove our location. If you weren't location dependent, actually, let's go ahead and leave location, but just get rid of the company and see how much that opens things up. So we have 489. So if it wasn't wanting only those who worked at Procter & Gamble, I have 489 people in the Cincinnati and West Palm Beach area that claim they are retired on LinkedIn, and I have lots of connections who could introduce me to those people. So if I take it one step further and, get rid of, let me see here.
Hey, Crystal.
Yep.
So quick question. Can you explain the difference between first degree and second degree real quick?
Sure. A first degree person is someone you are directly connected to. Once you are directly connected to them on LinkedIn, you can direct message them. Their content, if they share, will show up in your news feed. Basically, they're the same thing as your friends on Facebook. The second degree are the people they're connected to. And so you're able to search through all of their connections. So if you were to think of Facebook, and when you see somebody's friends, you can't search through to find friends who do certain things. You can browse through them, but the second degree is their connection. So that is the referral level. That is the introduction level. And so if you identify who it is that the type of person you want to find, LinkedIn will tell you who meets those criteria, and then who's the person or people who can give you that introduction. But real quick here, let's get rid of location. Let's go ahead and get rid of my connections and apply. Let's just look for retired people. And right here, showing 2.488 million people on LinkedIn who claim to be retired. I don't know, I think that's a pretty good sized prospect pool. What do you think, Jack?
I agree. I agree, and they're on LinkedIn, so it's
right.
not that they're posting what they ate for dinner last night. They started this at some professional level, so I think that's a pretty good level of prospect.
Right, and even if they're not active on LinkedIn, when you communicate with them through direct message, it gets forwarded to their regular email. So it's the same thing as having the regular email address. Well, and actually, when you get connected, you get their email address too. So you could communicate with them in either way. Now let's go through the 401k rollover. And so if you've not done this one before, you definitely want to check for your first degrees. This one's a little bit different in that we have to start at the top here. So you want to start by putting in quotes the phrases in transition or new opportunity. With LinkedIn, you can use what's known as Boolean logic, and that's and or not to create more sophisticated searches. And so in this instance, and if you use them, all the letters have to be capitalized, that whether they use the in transition phrase or they use the new opportunity phrase, those people are going to be included in my search. And so then once you search for those, you can set your level, you can also then click on all filters. You can add your location if you want and apply that. And so now here you see there are people who are looking for a job. And what do we know about 401k rollovers? They got to be out of their old job in order to move it. So you know that that's happened. And then you can see who's connecting you so that you can ask for the introduction if they're people that you know really well. And so if you're looking for 401k rollovers, I developed this search back in 2009. I would definitely be using it every single day. Now, one thing to talk about is you build out these searches real quick. LinkedIn used to have saved searches, even for free people. They have this search alert thing that you'll see pop up. It doesn't work very well. It's really, really buggy. I don't use it, and it's really hard to rerun a new search. So what I recommend people do now is in your browser, on your bookmarks bar, create a folder. Actually, you're going to want to create at least 2, if not 3 folders. One is called searches. Once you've run the search, if you go ahead and you bookmark it, and you can name it whatever you want, and you can save it in that folder, what's going to happen is, let me go ahead and open up my folder. I'll just jump so it's a completely new search. I'll click on the senior exec search. It's going to run the search just as if you typed everything else in. And so you don't have to keep putting in all of the filters, especially if you develop a sophisticated search. So from what I found, to me, this is the easiest. It's not foolproof. If LinkedIn changes their code, it could potentially break, but it's going to work a lot better than what they use in terms of search alerts as opposed to saved searches nowadays. Now, if you're in Sales Navigator, and we'll take a quick look at Sales Navigator, they have saved searches exactly the way they used to be. So let's real quick here go through senior executives. Senior executives, and particularly senior executives of large companies, are also a common target market. So we want to set our connections to second. In the title this time, we're going to put VP or vice president in quotes, or director. So we're kind of looking to that middle upper management side of things. We can go if we wanted a big area. So I did the Northeast, Cleveland, Columbus, Toledo, actually just all of North Ohio. And you can even specify industry. So if you wanted to be working with people, executives who work for tech companies, you can be very specific with that. So as you can see, you could even have specific companies if you wanted to. Here's the current companies. You can look within current companies if you wanted to. So when I apply this, I end up getting, I have 632 people who are vice presidents or directors of the different types of tech companies who have identified as being in those industries that I could get introduced to. That all I have to do is look at my shared connections and identify who is the best person to make that introduction for me, if you're looking at using it for referrals specifically. The owner search is another one. I just kind of want to run through. I'm going to demonstrate this one in regular LinkedIn as well as Sales Navigator so that you can see a little bit better what the value of Sales Navigator. It's more powerful for search. So again, we have second. This time for the title, because business owners call themselves different things, I'm using owner or president or CEO or founder. And for the heck of it, I just decided to use Chicago just to kind of demonstrate some of the different areas. And when I hit apply for that, I get 4,600 people, second degree, that I could get introduced to. Now, one of the things that can be difficult with this in the free level, and let me see if I'm not seeing any, is that it's anybody who calls themselves an owner. And so there are people who are solopreneurs. There are people who are with direct marketing, MLM types of companies. Not necessarily seeing any pop up here. LinkedIn's got a bit better, but they will be filling those searches. And so it's not going to be nearly as clean of a search. Also, if you notice here, you have 4,600 results. You can only browse through the first 1,000. And so this is actually too big of a search. You would ideally want to come back in and narrow this down a bit more. maybe in this case, add an industry, or you can search by connections of someone that you know in particular. That's kind of a new one that's pretty neat. But so that is finding small business owners. So let's take a look at what it looks like in Sales Navigator. So as you can see, the search form is a bit different. So here we have geography, relationship, second degree. Seniority level is a new filter that you don't have in, let me see here, shoot, my little, the GoToMeeting thing is covering up my scroll bar, makes it kind of hard. So seniority level is a key one if you're looking for business owners. Right now, LinkedIn has this little bug going on. I communicated with them, but when you're looking for presidents, it's putting vice presidents in it. So I added a little filter here, not vice presidents in quotes, so that when they pull up a president, we're getting presidents and not the vice presidents. But with seniority level, we have lots of different options. And basically, this is LinkedIn trying to figure out where they're at. So owner, partner, CXO. Here's the other one that's really important, head count, if you're looking for business owners, so that you can eliminate getting all of those solopreneurs by not selecting 1 to 10. You can select the number of employees they have. And so if you're identifying your small business prospects based on revenue, you can make an educated guess as to, well, okay, if they're getting that revenue level and they're in these types of industries, how many employees would that likely indicate? And so that's one way that you can pull in and get the search results better for those people. Let me get back up here. And so if I go ahead and click on search, 4.5. Now here's what's something that's kind of cool about Sales Navigator is you see this little ribbon. So here I can pull up the list of only those who have changed jobs in the past 90 days, those who are mentioned in the news, and also those who posted on LinkedIn in the past 30 days. So if they're posting on LinkedIn, they're active on LinkedIn, your odds of finding them or connecting with them or communicating with them are going to be far, far better. You can go ahead and make adjustments on the left side here in terms of how to do that. And so you can dig in. So once you know who your target market is, you can really get a good picture of them based on what would be in their LinkedIn profile. You can really develop sophisticated searches to find these people. So, and also here I popped in just in case you're wondering if you wanted to find somebody, say, who enjoyed golf, because sometimes in the summaries people will mention what they like. They'll take their bio, their corporate bio, and a lot of times it will say, well, your personal interests and your family at the bottom. So here in the keywords you could add the word golf and search for that, and I get, come on, okay, 307. Now the issue you might be seeing here, oh, but it's like country clubs, people who golf, not just executives who enjoy golfing. This is where you can come in and you can add some additional searches. So here, if I go into the company, so most of these companies that are about golf, they'll have the word golf in the title of the company. And so, oops, I'm going to use not golf. And then I'm going to do not, and in quotes, country club, and hit enter. And let's take a closer look at what we get. I got it, hold on. And so 291. And somewhere, it's not going to be exact, but you're still going to, chances are these people have mentioned golf somewhere on their profile. So that is the advanced search functionality. It is really powerful. It does take some time to use, get to know Boolean logic really, really well, because you can combine really sophisticated things with, because parentheses are another thing that you could do. So in the title, if you wanted to, you could add, if you're looking for a vice president of a specific type of department, we could put parentheses around that, add an and let's see, human resources, actually, and also, let's go to the end of that, human resources or HR or benefits. And add that into the mix. And so then we get people who are only executives within that specific area of the company. And so, like I said, there's a lot that you can do in playing around with the searching. Just keep at it. So let's pop back in, to PowerPoint and continue on with the rest of it. So, So engineering a sustainable and referral practice. So we've shown you how to find them and how to essentially clone them. Now, how do you get connected with them? And how do you do this in a systematic way that is sustainable? The number one thing is that you need a system for it. If you're just playing in LinkedIn, if you're saying, oh, well, today I'll go in and I'll invite these people, and today I'll go in and I'll post this. If you don't have a system, you will fail. You will be wasting your time. The likelihood of you getting any success with LinkedIn without a specific system is very, very low. Now, it happens. I'm going to be honest, it does happen, but just like those weight loss commercials that are out there, the ones that they're showing, that's not typical of what really happens. So with your system and trying to create this sustainably, consistency is key. Ideally, you want to be doing this on a daily basis or 2 to 3 times per week. Whatever the system is that you put together, you decide which tactics work for you, which searches, how many you're going to invite, how many you're going to set aside for referrals, how many you're going to send a message to. So you decide your system, and then doing it consistently saves time. When you have a system and you really know what it is, you can engineer it to be most efficient. When I work with my clients and the systems that I develop for them or we implement, the order in which we do the tactics doesn't necessarily make logical sense, but it decreases overlap so that it's really easy to go from one to another, building the information that you need before you move into the next step or tactic of your system. A complete system will take about 45 to 60 minutes to implement if you're doing all of the tactics that I would recommend in creating a sustainable system for referrals and building your network with people who meet your perfect prospect criteria. Because that's the other thing. This isn't just for referrals. What this is doing, once you get connected to these people, and I'll show you how to do that, you're connected to them. You can reach out to them anytime you want to. That's because they're first degree and you can message them. During this time, this 45 to 60 minutes, if you're implementing an appropriate system, you're usually going to be engaging with or finding 20 plus people during that time period that you're engaging with, that you're communicating with, whether through direct message, invitation to connect, that you're adding a comment to their update, just visiting their profile to encourage them to visit your profile. You're really getting a lot done in that amount of time compared to other prospecting techniques. So once you've identified the prospects, you need to rate them to decide which funnel am I going to take these down? Are these going to be referrals, or am I going to just go ahead and straight invite them to connect? And so when I tell people, look, is it a prospect? Is it a great prospect? Is it one of those prospects that you would like die to have, your whales, your elephants? And if you have a strong common connection to them, you definitely want to go referral for that, because a personal introduction, you're always going to have your best conversion rate with them. So if you run a search and you identify someone in your search results, say, oh my God, I would love to have this person as a client. Oh my God, I know this person really well. I can ask that person to introduce me. That's what you want to do when you run those search results. If you find a good prospect and you have a strong common connection, you could take it either way. You could ask for a referral, you could ask for the invite. Look at the circumstances, look at the person's profile, decide which method you feel most comfortable for that prospect. Again, referrals are always going to have the highest level of success compared to inviting them cold. If they're a good prospect and they have any common connection, you're going to invite them to connect. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in a second. If they are a great prospect, again, going back to our whales or elephants, but you have a weak common connection, don't do anything with them but keep track of who they are and where they are. When you have a really great prospect and you come at them cold and they say no, boom, you're done. You've pretty much lost any hope of it. So you don't want to go cold to those people when you can potentially develop that common relationship. As you're connecting to new people, you will have new connections form with people that you didn't have before. So every new connection you add, their connections becomes one of your common connections. And if you keep track of those people, check who those common connections are, eventually chances are you may come up with someone who could be in a better position to do that introduction or that referral. So connecting, if you're going to go the referral route, I learned referral marketing from Bill Cates from his first book way back in '97 when I was first a financial planner. And I've worked with him, and he's who's taught me referral marketing. Now I can teach you how to find the referral opportunities. I can do referral marketing myself, but I do it my way. I have not broken it down to a science. So he's the person you need to go to if you're not comfortable asking for referrals and introductions. So save the best prospects for referrals. And ideally, you want to try to identify 2 to 4 of those per week and start the referral process. Start that introduction process. That's going to take time. If you're not comfortable asking, check with him. And also, your most affluent prospects may need more than just an introduction. You may have to socially engineer the situation. You can learn a bit about them from their profile or from the connection in common who may not be comfortable introducing, where you can come up with a situation where you meet them what appears to be naturally at a golf tournament, at a fundraising gala. So you can, if you know about them and what they're involved with in the community, you can find a way, and ideally find a way to get in front of them with the person who you do have a connection in common, although it may not be a strong one, because then it's still going to make it a little bit easier. So how to request for the referral. Bill and I did a webinar a while back, and I kind of pulled this out of the slides for those of you who are wondering, well, how do I do it? The easiest way to do it is pick up the phone and call that connection in common. And you're going to ask them about their relationship with LinkedIn. You're going to ask for the introduction, and you're going to discuss how they are going to do the introduction for you. And so finding out about their relationship. So here's a little script you put together. You know, George, I know that we're connected on LinkedIn. I'm curious, are you using LinkedIn much? Now, it doesn't really matter what their answer is. It's just kind of an opening. Whether they use LinkedIn a lot or whether they don't, you can segue into the next level. Well, you don't really. Well, I found that I've had a lot of great success building relationships with it. Maybe you should consider that. But, well, I did notice that you're connected to Bob Johnson. Do you know Bob well? How do you feel about introducing me to Bob? You know, so this is where you're going to come into whether it's a yes or no. There are a lot of people on LinkedIn who do open networking, who connect with a bunch of people they don't really know. They may come back and say, well, you know what, I don't really know them well. I could make an introduction. I don't know how strong it would be. And that's part of why I tell people to build a network with intention. So, but if they do say, yeah, I can make that introduction, discuss how to do that. Let's talk about how you introduced me to Bob. I enjoyed the opportunity to take you and Bob to lunch. Anytime you can do something like that, it's going to be a lot easier. People like to be taken to lunch. Or you can ask to do it electronically via email and crafting an electronic handshake. So that's kind of how you can go through, at least at a really baseline level, how to ask for an introduction. Again, check out Bill's stuff if you need more than that. Inviting to connect. So if they are not quite referral caliber, you can invite them to connect directly. You need to make sure you have that common connection. They have to be second degree. When you send the invitation, it must be customized, an authentic invite message. You don't just click on the invite and send the default. You must add a note. In that note, you must focus on helping them, not as an advisor, just building a relationship in a way that it's mutually beneficial, that you want to help them in some capacity. Now, you only have 300 characters to get this done. So you really got to learn to be succinct. So here are a few examples that we can go through. So here's one. First, I noticed we had some connections in common and wanted to introduce myself. On occasion, I share information about issues relevant to business owners that you may find of interest. I'd love to learn from you too. That's the mutual. Would you be interested in connecting? The same thing, you know, I frequently share information to help women create happy, healthy, and wealthy lives that you may find of interest. Would love to learn from you too. Share information about financial planning and investing. Now, that one may not be quite as successful because a lot of people, especially the more affluent, are being targeted by financial advisors. So the more you can take it from just only financial planning and investing to help them, I think the greater success you usually have. So once you've invited them to connect, and so for your system, decide how many of these am I going to invite to connect every day or every 2 to 3 days when I do that, and go through and you invite that number. Then you have to go and look at who's accepted your invitations to connect. In your My Network tab, you can go and do that. And the one thing you have to do is, as soon as possible, send them a follow-up message. This is the number one thing that people fail to do, and this is the number one thing that's likely going to lead to creating a client out of this new connection. So you need to send them a follow-up message. You want to thank them for connecting, tell them a little bit about what you do, share a free educational resource if you have it. Ideally, you want to have some type of a valuable lead magnet, an ebook, a video training program, something that they will find a value, hits a pain point that's not the same stuff that every other financial advisor's spitting out there, and that they have to register. They have to give you their name and email address to get access to it. That is the ideal scenario, but you don't necessarily have to do it. Softly offer a phone call or get together to get to know them better, to be in a position to know them, not to sell them, to get to know them. And so here's a really quick message. It's not really a message, it's a template for what you should say in each section. So thank them for the connection, let them know you're looking forward to getting to know them, offer to help them. Tell a little bit about what you do, hitting a pain point, very, very small. You're not trying to tell them everything. If you have that link to some content, whether it's a lead magnet or just a blog article that you might have, go ahead and share that. And softly let them know that you value building that relationship and you want to get to know them better so that you can be in a position to refer business to them, to help them find a new job, to help them in some other way, as opposed to them hiring you as a financial advisor. So the goal of this is to open a dialogue, not to get a client immediately. Getting to the phone call, getting to the conversation is half the battle. So that's what you want to do. Don't scare them off into anything long term. Just focus on trying to get them to the phone. Now, somewhere you need to record them as a prospect. So one of the other things that you can do, and I won't pop back there just to make sure we have time, but I showed you a couple of folders on my bookmarks bar in my browser, is that when you're on their profile, you can bookmark them and you can have a folder for your leads. You can have another one for active, so you can save everybody in the leads, and those that you're actively working, you could also have in your active folder. And so you can bookmark them so that you can keep track of who they are. You could add them to your CRM or other contact system. And once you're connected, you have access to their email address. If they've shared their other contact information, you would have that as well. So you have enough information that you can go ahead and put into a CRM for their website. If you want, you could add the link to their LinkedIn profile. Or if you're using Sales Navigator, you simply save them as a lead. And all you have to do is click on See My Leads, and they're there. Makes it really easy to find them. So next, we're going to be talking about the go-to advisor. And Jack, I think this is where it'd be good to pop in that other poll that we had. Hello? Is anybody out there?
There you go.
Okay. I was starting to get worried.
Would you describe yourself as a people person? Would you describe yourself as a people person? So go ahead and jump on and vote. Everyone's vote counts. And Crystal, we're at 4:22 Central Time. Just FYI.
We're almost there.
All right. Let's close the poll. Thank you guys for being quick. Let's share this out. So, Crystal, 86% of the folks think they are people persons.
Well, that's awesome.
Well,
they're in the right place.
They are.
So, you know, being the go-to advisor is really about being a go-to person. And let me pop this back up here. You know, are you a go-to person? One of the things that you really have to get into to your head is that you can't just keep coming at people and giving them information about financial planning, about insurance, about this is it. That's all you talk to them about, and that's all that you show that you have interest in. You need to be a go-to person. How can you help them otherwise? Are you referring out to them? Look for those opportunities to help them. Are they looking for a job? Meet with them to find out about what it is they're trying to do so that you can be in a position and authentically say, well, you know what, if I hear of anything, I'll let you know, or I'll introduce you. So be a go-to person, not just the go-to advisor, because if you're the go-to person and you're regularly engaging with these people, when they do have that situation, you will become the go-to advisor, but you have to be a go-to person first. So in order to do that on LinkedIn, it comes in terms of engaging on LinkedIn. And this is where the newsfeed, the status updates come into play. Engage with their status updates. So comment, like, and share. If you only do one of these, comment on the status updates from your prospects, the people you see as leads, or centers of influence to them. So it's almost the same as a share in terms of going out to your network. People see you commented on and they'll see the whole thing. It's just as valuable as that. But you get greater visibility than a share because you're visible not only to the person's network who you commented on, but anybody else who commented on that, you're also visible to their network. And so your visibility is far, far greater when you comment on somebody else's update. It's faster and easier than a share. You don't have to do research. You don't have to find content. You don't have to share a link and type something witty, which is more important because if you don't get engagement nowadays, actually LinkedIn stops showing your stuff. So, but focus on those prospects and centers of influence to your target market, what it is that they're sharing, and find an opportunity to add comment of some, it doesn't have to be super in detailed, but of value that would add to the conversation. So likes are the fastest. If you got 5 minutes and you're on the mobile app, you can scroll through and like a couple of things. People will get notifications when people like them, and so it does make you visible. That's the thing. When you engage with the people with their status updates, they get notifications that you did that. And they know that by you doing that, you're increasing their visibility. And so they are going to be very thankful for that. And so even a like, if you don't have a lot of time for anything else, is definitely better than nothing. Now, some of the broker dealers out there are afraid of like because of the testimonial issue. So this is one that you do need to check your policy to see if you're allowed to do it, because if your securities license, your broker dealer may not be allowing you to utilize that function. So sharing is the most difficult. It can be the most powerful if you know how to do it. LinkedIn has changed the algorithm in terms of how you get visibility. That's a whole other topic, but it's real. Just sharing a link to an article doesn't get it done anymore. LinkedIn will just stop sharing it if nobody engages with it. So your people need to engage with your stuff, or LinkedIn will stop showing it. So what you want to focus on, well, what should I share? What does your target market want to see? If they're small business owners, they want to read articles about how to be better small business owners, not how to buy life insurance. If they're senior executives at a company, they probably want to learn or read stuff from Harvard Business Review on leadership and how to be better executives and managers within their company. So find content that they want to read. It does not and should not always be about what it is that you are selling. Original content lead magnets are ideal, but you can pull a lot of great content straight from the media. And if you happen to be working with a broker dealer or your insurance company may be providing content for you, you can use that too, but be very careful of how salesy it might be. So you can send additional direct messages once you're connected. You can do that in about 3 to 4 weeks. If you haven't heard from them, send another private message saying, hey, here's this article that I thought of, or I'd still like to get to know you better. Would you like to schedule something? Business owners, refer business to them in transition, offer to help them find a job. Other people, just be building a strong network and being in a position to help. You can send direct messages for other campaigns, and this is where the events come in. You can use this method now to invite people to come to your events directly through LinkedIn. And they don't get as many LinkedIn messages as they get email messages, so there's good odds that they'll see it and hopefully possibly come. So it all comes down to relationships. That's why if you're a people person, you should be able to do this. This is really no different than what you do live and in person. You're just using a different medium. It's not about talking at people. I have actually an update running with a little video where I have some examples where people get it wrong. It's not about talking at them, it's starting conversations, and you can create some awesome conversations that get you a lot of visibility. Actually, one of the ones that I started not too long ago had over 21,000 views, 95 people liked, 40, 50 comments. A really great conversation gets going, and that puts you in other people's newsfeed you're not even connected to. So it's all about relationships. How do you build a relationship? You're just doing it virtually versus
Hello? Crystal? Okay. Crystal, are you back? Okay, let me wrap this up if I can. We've got just a short ways to go here, so if you'll just hang in there for just a second, we'll get this wrapped up. When Crystal and I were putting this together, it occurred to us that if you're talking about referrals, that one of the ways to really make a difference in this referral market is through redefining client events. And so I want you to think a little bit about the last client event you had, and think about whether you'd want to do that again. For a lot of advisors, it's not a very fun process. The client events, sometimes are like the big chicken dinner, sometimes they're a barbecue, sometimes it's a Christmas party. But the most effective client events, and this is true if you want to use LinkedIn or not, are those client events where you create word of mouth influence, where you create some emotional bonding. And to do that, you've got to start to focus on the experience itself. And so if you're going to get your clients talking about you, which really is the objective of client events, what you've got to do is have a new formula for making your client events remarkable. And to get people talking about it, to get them sharing this with their friends and family. And so that's what this client event redefinition reframing is about. And so we encourage you not to get stuck in the past thinking, client events, I've tried those, they didn't work. Of course they didn't. What you focused on was some large, low interaction kind of event where you were trying to sell yourself. Instead, if you were to focus on events like a hot air balloon ride, like a cooking class, like a wine tasting, like a golf lesson for a small group of clients, and Crystal has just finished showing you how you can go about finding referrals from your clients into groups like this, and within your business how to find referrals from your clients who have these as likes, then what you're able to do is create a different kind of event circumstance. And really what you're trying to do is create that circumstance where when you get together with your clients that you have this remember when conversation. We've all had that. Do you remember when we went to the World Series? Do you remember when we went to see that show on Broadway? Those are the kinds of experiences you want to create, okay? And you can do that with LinkedIn or not with LinkedIn. So one of the things you're going to get in your email tomorrow is a link to download a 5-step marketing plan to help you get more referral business. It's going to direct you how to incorporate all this. And so the first big new step for a lot of us is to profile a little bit differently. In the past, we wanted to know where the money is and who the family members are and so forth. If you're going to redefine your client events, if you're going to build a sustainable referral business, then you've got to learn to profile a little bit differently. So we encourage you to go back to your top 20% of your clients and ask them, what are your passions? What are your interests? What are your affiliations? What are your activities? And when you have that information laid out in front of you, it's pretty easy to see where you can start to build client experiences that are going to create that remember when moment. And as you're thinking about your events, as you're looking at your calendar for the remainder of 2018, and you're thinking, I'd like to do a client event for maybe 10 or 12 or 15 people a month for the next 9 months. And so within that, I know I've got to have 3 or 4 clients, and out of those 3 or 4 clients, I'm going to ask them to invite some people. I'm going to use LinkedIn to cultivate some more referrals. So each of those client events may only be 10 or 12 people, but they're going to be highly targeted, highly cloned versions of what you're looking for. Focus on the experience. That's what creates the emotional bonding level. We've heard a lot of amazing ideas, amazing examples of client experiences that financial advisors have done. For instance, in Austin, they take advantage of the Formula One race there. Excuse me, to share some of those experiences with their clients. Obviously, wine or craft beer tasting is a big deal here in Dallas. Guided museum tours, cooking classes, golf lessons, backstage tours at the theater, all those kinds of things that are indigenous to your area are going to make for great client experiences. And then finally, you want to make sure you're leveraging LinkedIn, making sure you're taking full advantage of that, okay? I'd like to jump back if I can, because when Crystal exited, she didn't get a chance to do her close. She is
I'm
offering
here, Jack.
you.
Can
Okay.
you hear me? I'm back.
Yeah, she's offering this LinkedIn generation piece. So those templates that you saw, messages, how to connect with your different levels of referrals on LinkedIn, she's put together a book of those, and you're welcome to go to linkedingeneration.com and download that. That's her bonus to you. So that kind of wraps up, I think, what we had to offer with respect to LinkedIn and redefining client events. And I want to give you a heads up, and you'll have a link to register for this in your email tomorrow. But we've got Matt Halloran coming to talk to us later this month on a modern way. We're talking about cutting-edge way that financial advisors are getting in front of their ideal prospects. So we encourage you to come back and join us again on March 28th. For that event. If you've got any questions, yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, if we have a few minutes for those, if I could go back and show them the two other things that I had for them, if they wanted to take advantage of them.
We're at 4:35, Crystal.
Okay.
So I tell you what, offline, if you want to shoot me over some that information, we can talk about it. We can put it in the email for tomorrow if you like.
Sure.
Or I tell you what, folks, if you want to jump off at this point, make a note. The number is 800-752-0207. If you've got to run, go ahead. Otherwise, Crystal, I'm just going to kick it back over to you, and this will be a bonus.
Sure, and I'm happy to answer as many questions as people want if they have questions.
If you've got to leave, folks, we totally understand. If you've got questions, Crystal is going to wrap up her presentation, and she's going to answer all of your questions. So, Crystal, take it away. You've got until sunset now.
So, okay. Is my screen showing quite yet?
It is.
Okay, so actually, let me go back here real quick. Special offer for attendees. I shared with Jack and the InsureMark ADOs a training program on that actually included a step-by-step system for the things that I've been talking about. And he came back and asked me, is that for sale? And I was like, well, no, not really. But I decided to make it for sale for you guys and for only a limited time. But for $57, you'll get written instructions of my basic lead generation system, a training video that walks you step by step on how to do it, and a lead tracking sheet. And so if you are interested in that, you can go to linkedinninja.com/InsureMark. I'm only making that available for 1 week only. Actually, I had my website person going crazy trying to quickly get this up on the website just for you guys. If you're interested, since I gave you so much detail, if you want something a bit more tangible, you can go ahead and do that. Also, hey, every month.
Crystal, one second. Hey guys, this is an amazing deal. We went through this over the weekend. This is an amazing training. If you are interested at all in what you've heard today about getting LinkedIn and incorporating it into your business to generate more referrals, then you need to get this video and put your administrative assistant through the training so that they can then help you generate more of this referral business. This is worth 10 times the $57, I'm telling you.
Right. So, and it's just because I love you guys that I decided to make this available. So also every month, if you really like to dig in and get into the weeds, I offer these events called LinkedIn Ninja Third Fridays. They're offered virtually or in my office in River Center in Covington, Kentucky. So they're done every third Friday of the month. Next one's March 16th. And it's a 3-hour event. They are recorded, but only for the attendees. So it's not something that you can purchase and just get the recording for, because they're interactive. I don't plan anything other than the comments that people or the questions that people submit to me. So when you register for this, there's a small little survey to get an idea of where you're at, ask you what is the one question you really need to know, what other things do you want to get out of it, and based on the submissions, then I put the stuff in order and we go live, demo, tutorial, me answering those questions back and forth if something's not clear. It is 100% interactive, answering the questions that you need practically so that you can do what it is that you need to do. Take those pieces, come back next month and get the next pieces that you need. And they're only $25. So this is a brand new initiative, and it's kind of to help people who might be on a tighter budget, but also because I enjoy getting in with all the changes that LinkedIn's doing to see how other people are experiencing them and what's going on to help create better training programs and services for my clients. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun for me, but we really get into the details and into the weeds if you like to get into that kind of thing. So I encourage you to take advantage of that and to find that. So if you go to linkedinninja.com, it's in the main navigation, but third Friday, and you can register to attend that. There is a limit as far as how many people can attend that, because we don't want it to, since it's interactive, don't want it to get crazy. So do we have any questions?
You've been handling the questions.
Okay.
You've done an awesome job. LinkedInninja.com is Crystal's website, and if you need more information about any of this, watch your inbox tomorrow. It's gonna that follow-up email is going to be loaded, and please, as you exit, make sure that you complete our little survey. Look forward to seeing you on the 28th, and please connect with Crystal and InsureMark on LinkedIn. Crystal, anything else?
Nope, that's it for me.
All right. Thanks, guys. You've been a great audience. I see most of you have hung in there, and we look forward to seeing you later this month for Matt Halloran.
And he's my co-author, so you're in for some great stuff. You better come back next month.
Thank you.
Sure.
Bye-bye.
Bye.